I said, this is union busting and I will be talking to the press. Little did I know that I would also be talking to a judge.
Did you guys hear about the New York City Council intern who got fired after having the absolute audacity to demand that New York City Council interns be paid in real money rather than thank yous and pats on the back? Well, she's here with me live in studio apartment with two of her fellow organizers. Welcome, Mina, Fuhad, and Ki.
Mina, you were supposed to be wrapping up your internship, but instead you are suing the city of New York.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think I'd be suing the city of New York. I guess the realization is that like bad things happen and we got to stand up and fight back and do what's right. And the best way to do so is sticking it out with the people suffering from the same conditions are you, fighting for better for you all, because it's something that you've been through. Chances are that's happened to someone around you as well. So it's really made me believe that we all got to stand up together.
You all are part of this campaign for fair compensation for all interns, right? Before we talk about demands and all that, I'm just curious, like, what was your experience like interning? What is that program like? What is the scope of your work? And how much were you paid?
So I was working at a city council's office as a legislative and budget intern, and I was previously working in the district office. So I got to see a very wide variety of what interns do, what staff do, and for me, it was a very educational experience and something that I was really happy to get a chance to do. But it was because I had taken paid positions working at public schools as a teacher and at universities as a researcher that I had saved up enough money to be able to take this unpaid internship to follow my dreams and goals to be a public servant. And I think that was part of what made me support this campaign. Fundamentally, you know, all students and all children and youth who want to follow this path should have the access to a role like this.
I'm Fuhad, I go to City College, and I was a former intern for Councilmember Nurse, both in the district office and the legislative office. And I think that my experience as a whole was really informative about what the city council does and how the city council member in her district serves the people in their community. That really informed my now goal to want to be in public service and serve like New York City. But I also recognize that that's something that is not given to all working class students in the city. You know, like I was able to have that experience because I got funded through my school, which is a stipend program where they fund us for internships. But I know that not all students are able to do that. They're not able to get the external funding. If we want students to be in public service, to care about their community, then we need to make it so that they can have these internships and educational experiences also with dignity and pay.
Adding on to that, like something which was quite shocking that I kept hearing once I got this internship and was talking with other interns across offices was like that there were so many people who were literally facing homelessness, housing instability, food insecurity. The cultural conversation around these internships is that these are, you know, upper class people who are complaining about not getting paid when they knew what they were getting into. And the reality of the people I was meeting in conversations with other interns was completely different.
Yeah, like in terms of my internship experience, I was supposed to work right now, but instead I'd only worked there for a month. And that's because they fired me within 24 hours of making our campaign public. And my internship experience was honestly not great. I've had many internship experiences, but at mine I was treated really disposably. They had taken me out of opportunities that all other staff were allowed to go, but unpaid interns. They didn't show me a lot of respect. And it was a difficult experience being left out of things that would have given me an educational experience. And like ultimately, like the law says the same thing, right? That internship shouldn't have been the way that it was. It was an illegal unpaid internship. I didn't get any educational training. I had been displacing the work of paid employees. And then on top of that, it wasn't for academic credit. So I wasn't the primary beneficiary, and it was an illegal internship. And there's an irony there that I worked for the chair of Consumer Worker Protection, who is my council member, because I wanted to make this city the workers' rights capital of the world. And instead of that, I had been exploited under an illegal unpaid internship.
To add to that, I feel like most people understand that there's this kind of stigma towards interns, as if interns are less than somehow like than full-time workers, right? And I think that part of the reason is because they're, you know, unpaid or really low paid, and I think that creates a culture where we're like almost creating an underclass that's interns, and I don't think that's right. And especially in New York City, out of all place, you know, we're like Momdanistan, and we're like the most progressive town in the country, and we have the system that allows, working class students who want to be in government, who want to be serving their communities, to be kind of, branded as like something less than, and not treated as full-time professionals.
A lot of times, these internships are very much just doing the work that otherwise people would be hired to do, which is, I think, where the term illegal internship comes from, is that in other aspects or sectors, you're not supposed to have internships like that, except politics and government act as an exception, which I think is pretty ridiculous when government should be one of the most worker-friendly sectors of labor.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting because when you think about like the way that workplaces are set up, there's this hierarchy, and the intern is usually the person with the least amount of structural power. So there's an incentive to kind of just keep your head down, don't rock the boat, right? Because you need something out of this. This campaign is really kind of turning that on its head and challenging power in a really interesting way. So on this couch, we have two people who worked unpaid and one person who was paid. And I think that reflects the fact that there was no uniformity in pay in the internship program, right? Like, so you could have two people doing essentially the same function, same job, but one is getting paid and one is not. Am I correct?
To be clear, I got paid through my school, so technically the city council didn't pay me directly, but your point still stands true. Like right now, the city council has a really it's fragmented. That's the best way to put it. It's really fragmented, where there are like council interns that work at City Council Central. They get paid from the city council as if they were just like regular staffers, right? They get paid, in fact, $32 an hour, which is pretty great. And what we're asking for is to extend that to all interns, because they're interns, we're interns, we're doing the same level of work that they are.
And that was going to be my next question. Like, let's get into the demands. What exactly are you pressuring the city council for?
Yeah, ultimately, we think that all workers at city council deserve to get paid a living wage for their work. So we're asking for $32 for every single intern in city council in a robust and equitable internship experience, right? We believe that every worker deserves a union. Every worker deserves to collectively bargain for better with them and their coworkers, right? And ultimately, to do that, you all have to be paid by the same source. By letting outside sources pay your interns, you effectively stop them from negotiating under the same contract. That is called union busting, and that is called separating the workers and pitting them against each other. So we did believe that city council should pay every single worker directly. And then also, we deserve healthcare. City council interns who are paid get $32 an hour and healthcare. That's a minority of interns. The majority of interns get no pay at all. So we believe that we all deserve healthcare, a living wage, and also MetroCard, because going from the district office to the legislative office, which a lot of interns have to go between, to community events, is straining on working class people who aren't getting paid for their internship.
I actually didn't even realize that piece. So not only are you not getting paid, but you are paying to partake in this internship, because you have to pay to travel, you have to eat, right? I assume at some point, right? So you're losing money. In lieu of payment, you're getting paid in like thank yous and a line on your resume.
Yeah, you make a good point. I don't think we can substitute experience or like professional experience for pay. That's just not something that works for working people. It might work for someone who has like a billionaire dad or like a millionaire dad or mom.
You do call me,
right?
Please.
Yeah, call me as well, okay. But not for working class people and working class New Yorkers who, if they're going to work, that means that then they might have to skip out on going to school. People have to choose between one, and I don't think that's something that is sustainable. If we want working class people to have social mobility and to be in service of people in a field where you don't make millions, you're doing it out of love, and even then you're not being respected or being dignified for it. And
I think people will hear $32 an hour and they're like, oh my god, but like, first of all, relax. Second of all, $32 an hour, what is that, like $65K a year, $60K a year, something like that? No, that's like no one's millionaire. Second of all, like, if you're mad about it, you probably should be getting paid more too, so maybe you should organize your workplace as well, right?
Yeah, and it's like, these people expect us to negotiate for less than what some current interns are getting. You deserve a living wage. If some of us are already getting paid a living wage, all of us should be getting paid a living wage.
Yeah. And so what are the next steps in this fight? I know you being fired didn't end the fight, and it's not just you. You know, there's a group of folks that are organizing around this. So what's happening next?
What we're doing right now is we're organizing, we're standing together, and we're doing a lawsuit, a class action lawsuit against the city for their illegal unpaid internships program, because that will pressure the city to end the legacy of unpaid internships that do not work for working class people. I'm also suing for retaliation for firing me for organizing. And that's ultimately what we're about, is if you fight with one of us, you fight with all of us, and we all deserve a living wage and the ethical conditions.
You were fired shortly after kind of the campaign went public, right? I know you've kind of spoken about it already, but like, very clearly, why were you fired from your view?
I was fired because I was making complaints about wage practices in the office and at city council. And we're suing for it. It's all in the lawsuit. But I think I'd like to speak to the timeline a bit too. On Monday, we had talked to the speaker about it. The Thursday before, we had talked to the council member that I was working for about it. Monday or Tuesday morning, we had sent a petition with 32 intern signatures to the speaker. My name was the first name. And then we had posted a video that night of me and another organizer talking about us going to talk to the speaker about pay in a really lighthearted way. And the next day, one of my coworkers at 3 p.m. showed me the video. She was an intern, she was a staffer there, showed me the video. And then 2 hours later, a staffer said, "I need to speak to you." And she said, "This is your last day as a volunteer here," after never calling me a volunteer once, anyone in the office. And I knew it was union busting, and I said, "This is union busting, and I will be talking to the press." Little did I know that I would also be talking to a judge. But I knew what was happening, and she didn't deny that it was union busting. She didn't give a reason why I was fired. And I knew it was union busting because that week I had produced 7 work items. In the 2 days, like I'd been working Tuesday and Wednesday that week, I'd produced 7 high quality work items in those 2 days. And the office claims that I was fired because of not turning items in on time. It's a really bad lie. It's a really bad lie. And I think like we need to stand up for what's right. We need to call a spade, and union busting should not happen. And I'm so grateful to be able to say that my coworker interns are standing up for me and saying, "We know that you were fired for organizing. No one deserves to get fired for organizing, and we all deserve to get paid."
For folks who are listening who feel called to get involved but don't really know where to start or are kind of scared because of retaliation, what would you say to people?
So I think this is the cultural moment to get involved in this, especially in New York City, but across the country, we realize that there's a reckoning about the way labor is structured, about how much rights workers have, about how this system is not serving the majority of people in this country. And I think with this campaign, we've noticed overwhelming support. It would be wonderful if we can expand this movement, not just New York City Council, but across all government internships, and to come to a reckoning with the system of internships and the economic inequalities that it creates.
Yeah, I can add that ultimately, no one's going to save you. No one's going to come in and save you. But on the alternative, the cool thing is that when we come together as a collective, we can win everything. And that's the beauty of it. If you're afraid, it's because the boss is making you afraid. It's because they want to keep you divided and weak. But if we come together, we can be really freaking strong and win everything that we want, right? And the other beautiful thing is that if we all stand up against unpaid internships, we sue under the Fair Labor Standards Act, we can make an actual change to the way the systems actually exists right now.
I'll just say last thing. If anyone is, inspired, but you're on the cusp of taking action, but you're scared for retaliation or whatever, just imagine what's possible in a world where we have workers who have dignified lives, who have the healthcare they need, the money that they need for food, for home, and also to pursue their dreams of serving their communities. That shouldn't be something that's only excluded to the wealthy and to the ones who have connections, right? And so if you can imagine that world, I know you can fight for it. So, and also, one more anecdote. I think if you don't think this is possible, or if you think this is a long shot, about a year and a half ago, that's what they said about a certain candidate in New York City. And today, he's our mayor. And if he can win a long shot campaign, so can we.